Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of two fascinating entrepreneurs. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full names, where you're based, and share your story with us.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
We are very excited to be here. I guess, Coco, I can kick off and then hand it over to you. So I'm Kitty Bogle Sherman. My sister and co-founder is Coco Harmon. And we were both born and raised in Texas. And then as kids, moved overseas to Singapore and spent several years there, came back to the States, moved around a bit. And for my senior year of high school, we ended up in Tennessee. So I attended the University of Tennessee. So did Coco. So did both of our siblings. And I also stuck around and got my law degree there, in large part, almost completely due to the fact that two out of the other three siblings of mine were already there by the time I was graduating. So we spent a lot of good times together in Knoxville, Tennessee. And then I went on to Washington, D.C., worked for a congressman, got involved in politics, and that's what kind of took me back to Texas. And so back in Texas, I kind of stumbled into a situation where I ended up being the executive director of a mission serving our homeless community. And so that really gave me, that was like drinking water from a fire hose. I learned a lot at a young age running an organization like that. And there are a lot of similarities between that and a startup. Your core values are important. You're always fundraising, things like that. But kind of did political consulting and business consulting after I left the mission so that I could just have a minute to spend a little more time with my very young son at that time. And Coco and I, we'd kind of done some different, we dipped our toes in the entrepreneurial waters barely. We always knew we wanted to work together, and I'll let Coco tell you where she was by then, but we weren't in the same place. But around the time of the pandemic, we decided we wanted to start a business together. And really, this was Coco's idea. I was totally on board with it. And so that summer of 2020, we entered our first pitch competition, and kind of just things have gone from there.
Yes. Okay. And hello, I'm Coco. I'll give a little bit of my background. Kitty, you teed it up perfectly. The beginning is the same. I'll pick up at UT, where I got my undergrad degree in finance. So I did have a business background, and my collateral, which was sort of your, secondary minor, was in information management. And so that's where I got my first experience in the tech world. I got a little bit of a skill set. And then when I graduated, I went and worked as a product manager for a fintech B2B SaaS based in Atlanta. And that was eVestment. So that's kind of where I first got my experience in the startup world. Specifically, this was a tech company that had just gotten, I think, their Series A or Series B. They were hitting the growth phase. So when I joined, it was at about 40 employees. By the time I left, it had tripled. And so that's where I really got to understand that whole ecosystem. From there, I had 2 daughters and took some time off where I focused on raising my kids. But while I was doing that, I had many little entrepreneurial ventures that just kind of were almost like a hobby, just to kind of keep my skills up, keep my toe in the water of just how to build a brand, and really gain quite a few skills in kind of running micro experiments in the entrepreneurial world. And then Kitty and I kind of did get back into the startup world before I decided to start working back with Kitty. I had joined back up with an old coworker who had a dev shop, and I was starting to do product management work again on startups. And then the pandemic hit and kind of turned everything upside down. And so then that's when we just decided to kind of really focus in on something that is kind of a dream of mine. And Kitty was on board to kind of explore it with me and go from there. And from where we started to where we are now was a few years of some pretty serious pivots as we just slowly tested the market with different things. But kind of as we'll get into when we talk about Endora, the core of what we've been exploring and experimenting with has always been the same. And so it's kind of been fun. We've learned a lot, and we're excited to kind of share with the world what we've got to offer now.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, ladies, for sharing your stories. It always excites me when I meet other founders, women who are on the cutting edge of technology and out there doing their thing. Tell us, what is the vision behind Endora and what inspired you to start this project?
So the vision, Coco mentioned that we've, spent several years R&D and many pivots, but the vision has always been essentially the same. And we've known that we have all of these memories. We're the first humans who have been able to collect our own memories in this way. And we also know that, there are people, living in a society where people are really, their current digital tools, their go-tos, we know now that there are a lot of really poor outcomes associated with them. And so we really have just wanted to reconnect people to their memories, because we believe like everyone has what they need for a better future within them. But along the way, as we kind of realized this, as we were exploring the memory space, we actually found the science that backed up our hunches, if you will. So that's always fun. And so that's when we connected with our advisor, Dr. Clay Routledge. And so he's kind of the foremost expert on nostalgic reflection. And so our mission really, I say this all the time, but our vision, our mission is to get people reflecting more. But there's a guy, you may know, Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater, but he's kind of distilled a lot of his life's learnings into these really great little principles. And one thing he says a lot is pain plus reflection equals progress. And we're living in a world where there's a lot of pain, but we aren't reflecting very much because we're very distracted. And reflecting for most people is almost a luxury because they're just trying to survive. But if we can reflect, that leads to personal evolution. That leads to progress. And we don't believe that we're going to be able to get there by circumventing the reflection process. So we're really just trying to spark just perspective shifts. And this can happen literally just from playing like one game of Endora. We're trying to give people a way to do this that doesn't feel like work and is a fun game. And oh, wait, now I'm, feeling less anxious. Now I'm feeling more creative, more optimistic. I reached out to someone I haven't talked to in a long time, et cetera, et cetera. So we're really counting on that ripple effect.
And there's something unique about nostalgic reflection and kind of the power of our memories that our advisor, he kind of describes it as being something that's both restorative and expansive. And so not only does it, restore connections, make your connections stronger. It also makes you more creative. It inspires you, and it actually motivates you to take action on your life and make positive changes in your life. Actually take action on that, that's what's really exciting to us, is that the science is kind of already proven that this is what the outcomes are. And so it almost seems like if we know these are the outcomes, that, that's an exciting product to get to work on.
Yep.
Wow. So what would you say are the unique strengths that each of you brings to the team as co-founders?
Well, I'm the older sister, and we've been scheming together since, as soon as Coco arrived onto the scene. But I would say that we always tell people, because, sometimes people ask out of curiosity, but sometimes people ask because, perhaps they've had an experience or know of a situation where siblings working together is not a good thing. But for us, it's like our number one superpower. We're very complementary in terms of our skill sets. So, my superpowers, according to Harvard, are energy and problem solving.
Okay.
And so, I bring from my background, a heavy focus on leadership and building teams and creating and cultivating an environment of trust and respect. And we think that's where the best work happens. So that's really more my side of things. And then Coco's obviously bringing in the tech side. And your superpowers, what are your Harvard superpowers?
Systems thinking and but very analytical. I think experimentation.
I think that might be
one of them. And I think that is probably I'm great at rough drafts, throwing out ideas, and talking to clients, getting the feedback, kind of the product manager role that I did at the startup I worked for, the fintech startup. A lot of those same skills apply and are super helpful. Kind of to be able to talk to, we have 2 amazing groups we've been working with to get Endora off the ground. And one of them is a creative team that's doing a lot of our design and art and the UI. And then we've got another team that's the development team that actually has a background in gaming. And they are bringing a lot to the table in terms of the UX and also the UI. But being able to kind of bridge that gap, because I've done it before, I think helps us to have a really smooth team kind of already operating within our vendors. All of the people we work with are all super excited to help us with this mission. And it's really exciting because their energy energizes us. And yeah, we couldn't ask for a better team. So
I'd like to add,
great at bringing all of the teams together. So that's really important.
Well, I was just going to say, Coco is really great at being the translator. Like, she is the world's best translator.
Well, thank you.
I'm just saying, so yeah, as you can tell, we really like working with each other, and we feel really lucky to have these creative partners who also believe in the mission and, keep us energized. And so a lot of times, you read about how lonely entrepreneurship can be.
Yes.
And there certainly are some challenges unless you've done it yourself. Once you're in the club, but I would say that we feel incredibly lucky to get to be like working together, and then also to have found these teams that want to work with us too and share the long-term vision. And I should also mention, so Coco and I live in the same neighborhood. We live like 6 houses away from each other.
Or
our
less.
Kids go to the same school. Yeah, or less, maybe not even 6. So yeah, we're pretty like seamlessly integrated.
I love it. So what sets Endora apart from other projects in the same industry, and what unique features does it offer?
I'll take this one as the product lady. So that's a fun question to answer, because I know, we've participated in a few little accelerator programs. And so we've gotten the, investor, angel, startup 101, all of the roles, told to us. And one of them is, never say that you're unique I promise you, investors, they've heard your idea pitched before. It's not unique. Never say that. That's a red flag to an investor. But what's really interesting is that we have a lot of conversations, and a lot of the investors that we've talked to, they actually do tell us we've never heard this before. So there's really no one, when, you know, there's still not a good competitor that we can say is even in our market, which we consider to be playing with your memories, gaming and memories. So anything that's combining casual mobile games and memories is kind of the space we're operating in. And no one's really doing that. And so that's exciting that we are possibly actual pioneers in what we think will end up being a pretty large gaming genre eventually. Is that space. So that's what sets us apart, is that we're actually doing something with our memories that's interactive and doing it for a purpose that is to serve your wellness. And kind of combining those things together is apparently actually very unique. So we're excited about that.
So can you describe the process of developing Endora from the initial idea to the final product?
So, Kitty, how should we answer that one?
Okay, well,
how far back do we want to go?
Coco's got like
an
80-page slide deck that goes through like every pivot, every okay, I think maybe we could start with our first product that we took to market, so to speak, you know, and then, so I'll just say when we applied for that first pitch competition, we really did just apply with an idea. And less than a year later, we had an app in the App Store. And basically what you could do, it was really more emotional life insurance, if you will. So trying to bridge the gap between, like, once you're gone, you know, is with all of our memories that we've got now, isn't there a way we could somehow improve the connection that we still feel to those who have passed on? And so we were kind of playing in that space. And so what we had in the App Store, you were able
legacy focused, is kind of
legacy focused.
More about leaving your legacy, leaving messages to your loved ones that they can kind of have forever, a way for people to kind of cherish their memories after they're gone.
Okay.
And that's not a unique concept. There are people out there doing it, but we did have a unique take on it. So a lot of people are doing this with like different kinds of books you can fill out or emails you get sent with prompts. So we did have a unique take on it. But what we realized, there are a few things we realized. One, being a legacy focused product inevitably means that you are asking someone to contemplate their own, you know, mortality every time they use your product. And it was a lot of work, actually. I mean, even a simple prompt is going to make you sit there and go, I don't know. And so while I don't think that that's like our grandfather was our demo for that, and he has since passed away, and I will treasure those videos. Really glad we have them. But what we realized is we wanted to build something that allows people to have a positive experience every day. And so we really kind of, from that first product, that's when we really went heavy into the memory space and tried to figure out, okay, there's something here. There's a huge opportunity. What is it that people don't even realize they can do yet with their memories, that they don't even realize they want to do yet? And so then we basically tried to take it from like thinking about death and lots of work to no work, all play, and celebrating your life. And of course, we have a grand vision for where this could go. And eventually, I think we want Endora to be a place where maybe your life and your best memories are represented. But that's down the line, and I don't want to muddy the waters. But we just want it to be really easy because, again, so many people are out there just trying to make it, just trying to survive. They don't have time to, at the end of their day, when they've just gotten home from work, put their kids in bed, the last thing someone really is going to do is maybe sit down and say, oh, now it's time for my yoga session or my meditation session. That would be great. But we're trying to reach people who, they're maxed out and all they have to do is play some games, and then accidentally their life is going to improve.
Well, and that's what we discovered throughout all of our pivoting, was that we just need to make it, like Kitty said, as easy and fun for people to accidentally reflect. And so over 70% of women play casual mobile games every day. Yes. And we thought that made sense to marry those, because it's kind of a habit we already have, and something that we already do to relax and kind of exercise our brain a little. And combining in just the flashes of the memories kind of is all you need to do to get that wellness effect of the nostalgic reflection. And so that's what we're really trying to get to. And we're trying to kind of let it happen accidentally, subconsciously. And it really is in the flash of the photo. You don't have to think about the photo, just seeing it floods your mind with this nostalgic reflection.
So what challenges did you face during the development of Endora, and how have you overcome those challenges?
So the main challenge is funding, because neither of us are actually the coders. We are bootstrapping. We fundraised a little bit, but we're back to bootstrapping. We bootstrapped more than we fundraised at this point. And we know we need to get the product far enough along, because it is a novel concept. No one, people really need to experience it to understand what we're talking about. And that is happening with even the experience we've got ready now. But where we want to take it is, we basically have been operating at quarter speed, whereas if we were fully funded, we could be, 4 times, further down the line. So we are definitely trying to fundraise, but at the same time, we're, also hoping that we can bootstrap to the point that it actually takes off, and maybe we don't end up needing to fundraise. So we're kind of figuring that part out right now, but that has definitely been the biggest challenge. At the same time, I think building it slower has made us, or given us more time to get feedback, from users on the product before we've developed too much too fast that people don't want. So that's, there are pros to that. Trying to look on the bright side.
Right. I would say, we have been, again, back to our creative partners. We've just been really lucky that they're bought into the mission, and that they've been so incredibly supportive, because they are very cognizant themselves of the situation we're in. So we're bootstrapping. And so, they kind of go above and beyond for us. And they're also like very, strategic people themselves. And so, they're strategizing about how we can best use the resources we do have constantly. So it's like everyone on the team has that in mind. And I think that has helped us a lot.
Yeah, sometimes you have to slow down to speed up, right? They say if you really want to shoot an arrow and it goes far, you have to pull back a little bit, then you'll let go, and some magic.
That's a great analogy. I very much feel that with us.
So how do you ensure that Endora stays innovative and meets the needs of your target audience?
So I think that's kind of where my strong suit comes in, because I can't help but always tinker with the latest in innovation. And so I am constantly playing around with any tool I possibly can to keep the innovation going. We also plan to just really have an open community, and hopefully have people passionate enough about what we're building that they want to be involved. We want to say, what game do you guys want us to build next? And we'll actually do it, so that's kind of, we want a community that's very, involved and feels like they're a part of Endora.
I was just going to add to that, that, we're building a product. We're basically, there's part of us that's really kind of fed up with a lot of what we see on the market today. And, that comes from our personal experience, but also we have young children. So seeing what their gaming and internet experiences is just really frustrating. And so one way that I think we're innovating, even though this shouldn't be innovative, is by putting our user absolutely at the top of the decision tree. So no ads. And like Coco's saying, why wouldn't you build a product that your customers are telling you they want?
Yeah.
So staying committed to that, and then staying committed to treating them the way we want our children to be treated online, and our family members and ourselves to be treated, that's very important to us.
Yeah, that's really important. And the interesting thing is, if you play your cards right, your community could end up being the investors.
Totally.
In
Which we would love. Why not? That would be, that's a whole different conversation. That would be, we dream of being able to, I guess, find ourselves in a situation where, like you're saying, if we played our cards right, where the people who are part of the community and have supported us are the ones who get the windfall, if you will.
Yeah, that's slowly happening to me with her story. It's been an incredible 7 years, but I've had several women who I've interviewed on my podcast saying, hey, how can I support? One lady just called me and said, give me your bank details. She put $10,000 in my account. And I was like, what?
That's
so
amazing.
Can happen.
Yep.
As you build these relationships with the community, that can happen very easily.
That's very inspiring.
So can you share a success story or a significant milestone that Endora has achieved since its inception?
For fun, we could talk about our code launch. We kind of finally, after, a couple years of persistence, got to, made the stage.
Okay. So the first pitch competition that we've mentioned is Code Launch Accelerator. Right. And they are based in Frisco, Texas. So Dallas, basically. And so they, they are amazing. So let's just start there. And they're great for anybody who just has an idea. You are not going to be shamed there. Just apply. But
they were really our entry into the startup world with our startup. So they kind of hold a special place in our heart.
Yes. Yes. And so that first time that we applied, we actually ended up being the alternate finalists, which that was cool. But thank goodness we weren't on stage, because in no way, shape, or form would we have been ready for that.
No, yes,
at that point. We didn't know that, but that's kind of also like story of our lives. We're just doing things, wilding out, and then realizing, oh, I don't know, we're ready for that. But anyway, that was in 2020. And then this past spring, so end of February, we ended up becoming finalists, and we pitched on stage to like 600 people. We didn't win, but it was a pretty amazing experience. It was kind of like
full circle moment. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And they also, so they're kind of our traveling pitch competition and startup expo and a hackathon. And so it's kind of a unique thing, but we also did attend several between our start and our ending. The community there is amazingly supportive and has been really kind of pivotal in our journey. But we've also kind of presented every time we pivoted, we would present a new version of what we had at these expos. We'd really talk to people. That's kind of like, those were our milestones kind of along the way. And so it was kind of exciting that when we finally did make the stage, we think we were ready because it was the first time we really pitched, with Endora as she is now. So it was pretty cool.
And as we understand it, it was a close vote. But but yeah, like to Coco's point, it felt good to be like, hey, we're not really so much worried about the outcome. It's the fact that we're standing here on stage and we're presenting something that we really believe in, and we know we're kind of locked in. This is our train has left the station.
That is beautiful. Now, if you were to give 3 nuggets of wisdom to somebody else out there, let's say 4, then you can do 2 each.
Okay.
Who's thinking about getting into the startup world, the technology world, 4 pieces of advice based on what you've learned up until this point. What would those nuggets of wisdom be?
Okay. I can go.
Okay, you go first.
I would say in our case, like Coco has been describing, since we are kind of a novel concept, apparently, I don't know that this would have necessarily worked for us, but I would say to anyone else, if there's something you want to try, think about the lowest cost way that you can test if you have an interested market. So get creative and think about how you can test your idea. Because if you can get some traction, then, you can be off to the races. If you can just show someone that, hey, there's a market for this, people are interested in this. So I would just say, like, be really creative about experimenting early on, and don't really worry about what anyone thinks, or is this a good idea? Like, just start experimenting. Don't wait until it's perfect by any means. The other thing I would say is that this sounds very cliche, but the networking component, I would say that you will find your people. They are out there, and everything is a lot more pleasant when you know who they are and you know where to find them and get plugged in. So I would just say, like, whatever your mission is, or whatever your, the way this is fun is when you find people who you kind of vibe with. And it's not going to be very much fun if you don't find those people. So yeah, I guess I would say be really like, don't care about anything except like your vision, your mission, experiment, and really look for your people until you find them, because they are out there.
Good answers. Okay, so I was going to say actually a similar thing, which is definitely community, which kind of goes to our code launch conversation we just had. Community of people who are at a similar stage and ideally similar kind of product, but at least playing a similar game that you are. So if you're in the startup world, that can mean a lot of different things, and it is. Much as you can find people who are really doing something similar to you, the better, because the advice can be wildly different even within the startup world if it's a completely different product, and that can be very confusing. So that would be my first advice, a very, similar community. And then also mentors. So we've had some really great mentors who have, I think, just been really great for us. And again, if you can find people who are familiar with what you're trying to do, or ideally have done it before themselves, that's probably the best. But otherwise, if they understand, again, the game you're really trying to play, then that's hugely beneficial. So yeah, community, mentors.
Fantastic. Ladies, thank you so much for coming online and sharing this inspiring story with us. I look forward to catching up with you again in a year's time and seeing where the project is. I definitely would like to keep track of this. What inspires me is you've hit on an idea that can help people reflect on their lives, because sometimes we forget how far you've come, right?
100%.
But you're capturing these memories and immortalizing them, which is, again, people take their stories to their graves. These memories are buried.
So but we don't have to do that anymore.
No, we don't. The technology is there to capture everything, and it's a game. It's fun. It's interesting.
Yep.
Kudos to you for coming up with this brilliant idea. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is a platform that brings you the voices and stories of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, energize you, inspire you, and empower you. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview another group of interesting guests. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.